Good evening, everyone. Sorry for the delay. We were trying to go live on Facebook and something wasn't working. So we're recording this and we'll be posting it as soon as possible. But tonight's class is called Fit While You Sit, and it is an absolute must. You have to watch this class and pay close attention because we're going to reveal some of the really common mistakes almost everyone is making that is actually taking away from their productivity at work, their health, their vitality, could even be impacting their mood and their happiness, certainly increasing your odds of chronic disease and premature aging. So pay close attention because even better than revealing the common mistakes people are making, we are going to be talking about the really simple, quick, easy fixes that we can do to reverse all that. So if everyone paid close attention tonight and applied just one thing that they learned and shared that with just one person and made an impact in that person's life too, we could really make a difference in people's health and well-being. And too often we get very overwhelmed by things that we want to improve in our life, whether it be our health or our relationships, our finances. We might look at the bigness of the problem and the things that we even know that we should be doing and think it's too hard, it's too much, it's overwhelming, and therefore we just get frozen and we do nothing, and we change nothing, and then therefore nothing changes. The difference that I want to share with you tonight is small things, little key changes that have the power to influence a lot. And that's where we want to spend our energy and our effort, is on the little things that are going to have the biggest impact, right? Because there's big things that would be wonderful to achieve, but maybe we're just not able to do those big things. Or there's small things that are not that influential. So we want to really focus our energy and our efforts, kind of like putting just one wheel under a wheelbarrow full of stuff that you need to haul, that it would have been impossible for you to carry all that, but just one wheel placed in the right spot can make all the difference, and you can move that load with ease. So that's what tonight's class is going to be all about. It's Fit While You Sit. So we're talking about sitting. This is something super basic, super simple. We do all day, every day. In fact, humans in our day and age sit way more than any of our ancestors, even more than you and I did 20 years ago, because technology has changed the world we live in dramatically. So it's something that we do all the time, right? And research is clearly showing that there is a negative toll on our health from the amount of hours that we're spending sitting. And it's just the way we live our lives now. We don't even pay too much attention to the fact that we sit to do just about everything. The way we live, the way we work, the way we play has been dramatically altered, and we're spending hours and hours sitting. Like I said, the research is overwhelming that the hours that we spend sitting directly correlate to the rates of chronic disease that you're likely to experience. So as the number of hours of your life of sitting in your life go up, so does the rate of chronic disease in your life. So this is really serious. It's really impactful. It's really important that we get a handle on it. Now, your first thought might be like, okay, well, that makes sense. You know, a person who sits a lot is sedentary. They probably don't exercise. That's also probably someone who doesn't eat right. And okay, so that's going to have an impact on how much disease they experience. But what was really upsetting to me when I first started looking into this research years ago is that the impact of sitting on chronic disease, direct correlation, like I said, does not get interrupted when a person also exercises. So a person could go 5 to 7 days a week, spend an hour killing themselves in the gym, and yet it's not breaking that connection in how many hours of sitting is raising their risk of disease. So that's really concerning, because that means it's not just that they're not a person who exercises, it's the sitting in and of itself somehow. And that might just be like, what, how, why? Why would sitting increase my risk of disease, right? If I'm a person who exercises, I eat right, I do all those other things, how could it be? Why is that? And it's because sitting affects three very powerful, very influential things in your life and in your body. Number one, it affects your brain. And we'll discuss how all of this works in a minute. But your brain is the master control system of your entire body. So if sitting has an impact on your brain, then your brain impacts everything else. Sitting has an effect on your nerves, and we'll talk about that. Your nerves are what communicate the information from your brain throughout your body. So any impact to the nerves is going to have a big impact on your health and your life. And thirdly, sitting actually influences your genes. And obviously your genes have a big role in how your body functions. And it's like we talked about last week, genes are a recipe book. They don't do just one thing. We can turn genes on and off. We can make them express differently depending upon the signals that they receive. And believe it or not, sitting is a signal to your genes. I know that sounds crazy, but it's true. Because our human ancestors, even our great-grandparents, lived a very different life than we did, and human beings were constantly moving. And there were lots of things that we had to tend to. We had to gather resources and so on. So human bodies were designed for movement. It would be extremely rare for a human body to be sedentary in our past unless something was drastically wrong. And then we had this beautiful survival mechanism that would kick in. So in times of famine or a harsh winter or dire circumstances, the survival mechanism would kick in, and you would have to hunker down and be sedentary because there were no resources or what have you. And that action of being sedentary was a signal to your body, signal to your cells and your genes that now was the time for survival. And anything that was, unnecessary at the moment was going to be put off. And that would include healing and repair. That would include maximal function of your immune system. Of course, it would include reproduction. All of your body's mechanisms would go into survival mode. Just hold on to every last calorie, reserve all the energy that you have, just keep the brain alive. Don't worry about the musculoskeletal system, building strong bones, building muscles. That can all wait. If we survive this situation, then we'll worry about that. Now, unfortunately, our lifestyle is incredibly different from our ancestors, but our genetics are not. And that same signal of sitting or being sedentary still triggers that survival mechanism in your body, and it tells your body, hunker down, reserve, don't waste energy on building, growing, repairing, healing, defending your body, all of those things that can be are an absolute necessity for having a healthy, vibrant life, get put on hold by that signal of sitting. So this is like a train wreck for our health, and it's really no wonder that sitting is going to correlate to disease if we're having that impact on our body. But there's really good news. The solution is so super simple, and movement is the solution. And I just told you before that the research revealed that spending those hours in the gym didn't undo the connection. But what did was taking a person who exercises and having them interrupt the amount of time or the length of time they're spending sitting, just interrupting it. And that broke the connection between the hours spent and the rates of disease. So yes, you still can sit to do your job. You don't have to get a treadmill desk. That would be great. But if you could just interrupt the amount of time that you're spending sitting, literally just standing up and sitting back down multiple times through the day could be a game changer for your health and your well-being. Take away that signal to your genes that we don't want to be in growth and repair and that we need to be just in survival mode. So the research has revealed that the optimal amount of time that we would go before we stand up and move our bodies would be 20 minutes. So in an ideal world, you'd set a timer on your phone, you'd put a post-it note, something to remind you that every 20 minutes, all you would have to do is stand up and sit back down. Now, if you want to mix it up even a little bit more and take a 30-second stretch break or to, walk around or do something more than standing up, wonderful. The more movement you can incorporate in your day, doesn't have to be official exercise. The more movement you incorporate, the healthier your body is going to be. And we have a list, a 2-page document of the things that you should do every single day, and there are great ways to interrupt your time spent seated. Especially if you're having to work from home, we could really get tied down to whatever we're doing and get stuck there for hours at a time, and that's when the sitting is most detrimental. Now, I mentioned that sitting affects your brain. And that is because your brain receives a lot of stimulation and nourishment. In order for it to function properly, your brain gets stimulation and nourishment from the movement of the joints in your body. So every place in your body where two bones come together and form a joint, so every spot where there's movement, especially all of the multitude of little joints in your spine. There's so many little joints in your spine. But obviously all the others that you know of, your shoulders, your elbows, your knees, your hips, every joint is richly innervated with mechanoreceptors, and they can sense, and proprioceptors, and they sense movement. And every time the joint is moved, it stimulates those nerve endings and information goes to the brain, and that information helps drive neural function. I also said nourishment. The brain and the spinal cord actually sit in a very special fluid called cerebrospinal fluid, or CSF. And unlike blood that has your heart to pump it throughout your body, your cerebrospinal fluid sits there unless it is pumped by the occipital or sacro-occipital pump. And that's their occiput, which is the base of your skull, that bone, and your sacrum, which is your tailbone. They are the key driving mechanism in pumping the fluid around your brain and spinal cord. So as you move, that fluid is refreshing and exchanging. Think about your brain sitting in a stagnant pond of fluid all day. If you're just stuck there at your computer and you haven't moved in hours, your brain is sitting in a stagnant pond. And just by moving your body, you're refreshing the fluid that bathes the brain. And that can't possibly be bad for how your brain functions intellectually and for it to clear itself of toxins. So people worry about their productivity. If they're going to break up their sitting and they're going to interrupt their day at their job or at their computer, they're trying to get a task done. It absolutely will help you to function more efficiently if you move your body. Don't worry so much about the stand up, sit down being an interruption to your work, because your brain is going to function that much more efficiently that it makes up for it. Now, the good news in this situation is that the solution to the problem is the same as the last. You just have to break up the amount of time we spend sitting. Now, knowing we need to do that, the last and most important thing to address is the way we sit. This is a big deal, and this is how we're impacting the nerves. And the nerves are so important. If you've ever experienced a situation where you have nerve pain and it traveled down your arm or down your leg, you felt the sensory component of a nerve being irritated, and you could feel the length of that nerve, right? The majority of the nerves are not sensory, so we don't feel them. But these beautiful little nerve roots that extend from this model of the spine, maybe they're an inch or so long, in your body, they don't end there. Those nerves travel and they branch out and they branch out and they branch out so that every cell, tissue, and organ in your body is being supplied by a nerve. So the length and the impact of those little nerve roots where they exit the spine is dramatic. Throughout your body, lots of areas receive innervation, nerve supply, from where it starts at the spine, that little spinal nerve root. It ends up going a long way and impacting a lot of structures, is what I mean. And typical sitting is stressing the nerves because of postural distortions that the majority of us, these little mistakes that we're all making, that we've accepted as normal. You wouldn't think twice if you saw someone sit down like this. You're probably doing it right now. As a matter of fact, everyone who's watching this right now, just stand up and sit back down. Let's take advantage of that benefit. And when you sit back down, I want you to think a little bit more about how you're sitting. So very typically when we sit down, we lose the little curve in our low back. So we go like this, and we roll the pelvis forward and we sit more on our butt than on the bones at the base of our spine. So I'm going to show you on this pelvis here. This, if you put your hands under your bottom, you should feel a bone under there, and that's where you should be resting your body, not rolling forward like this. So when you roll forward, we lose the curve of the lower back. And then our head comes forward. So if you've been to the posture classes, you know your ear should be in line with your shoulder. But when we sit like this, and now we're stressing the nerves here, and we're stressing the nerves of the lumbar spine. Did you realize that the nerves in your lower back go all the way down your legs, supplying the muscles and the sensory ability of your legs down to your toes? They also branch and they come into the reproductive organs, the bladder, the digestive organs. So stress on your lumbar spine is impacting the way your organs are working. In this region of your spine, those nerves are coming out. They're affecting the shoulders, the arms, all the way down to the hands. And they're branching and going to the thyroid, the lungs, the heart. Your health and well-being depend upon those nerves. It doesn't shock me that sitting will increase the risk of chronic diseases because I understand the mechanism by which the body works. When we are sitting with typical posture, we are compressing, we are stressing, we're taking away from the nerve's ability to function optimally. And if that nerve cannot send and receive the signals that the brain is trying to transmit, then the end organs are not going to be able to function as efficiently. Even though your body is adaptable, it's going to do the very best it can. It's going to work through all kinds of stress. It's not as healthy as it could be if those nerves were not stressed. I love this analogy, and I want you to think of a light switch. I want you to think of a light switch being in the up position, and the electricity is flowing to the light bulbs, and everything is working just fine. And when you flip the light switch down into the down position, you cut off the electricity, and therefore the lights go off. You've done it millions of times in your life. It's very simple, and I want you to think of that every time you sit down. If you sit down and you go click into the down position, just imagine you were shutting off the electricity and the power to all of your vital organs. And when you go click into the upright position, then the power flows, the lights are on, the parts are working, and everything is good. You literally have a switch to turn on and off your health and well-being at a moment's notice. It is your choice. It may be something that you've never thought about. You know, every time you look down at your phone, it's just an automatic mechanism. Click. Think of that light switch going off. Every time you sit down, click. Think of the power going off. But you can do it differently. But it's a matter of retraining your habits, right? And This is a game changer if we can catch it early enough. If we could teach our kids this, prevention, so much more powerful than trying to fix things later. But those of you who are adults, we may very well have some habits to undo, some damage to undo. And if we have vertebrae that have been stressed over time, whether it be from a slip or a fall when we were a kid, or sports injuries, or car accidents, or just poor postural habits over a lifetime, well, those subluxations, those misalignments are going to need to be corrected. Even if it's not causing pain, a vertebra that's stuck is interrupting, it's not allowing that signaling to nourish and stimulate the brain. It's impacting the nerve that's going out to the body. So that's going to need to be addressed, and we need to change the habits of how we sit and how we use our bodies. A side note is that when we sit like this, we're also affecting the shoulders, leading to shoulder issues and injuries later in life that could just come from posture. So the two things I want you to do right away are start paying attention to the way you sit and start paying attention to the length of time that you spend sitting. If you could just break it up a little bit and catch yourself once in a while and correct, bring your computer monitor up. Make sure that that is at eye level. Just a little bit too low and you're going to catch yourself doing this to be able to, see what you're doing. Check the seats in your car. Adjust your mirrors so that you're sitting upright with good posture, a little curve in your lower back. And then as you start to slide back into your old habits, you'll notice because your view in the mirror will be different. Just little things that can go a really long way, like the wheel under the wheelbarrow. It doesn't have to be a big deal, but it can make a huge difference in your health and your well-being. Please reach out to us, ask us for the list of stretches to help correct posture. So just ask for tonight's notes. There'll be stretches to correct posture and stretches that you can do that kind of are designed to break up your day of sitting. But choose one thing. It's your life, it's your body. Change the way you take care of it and you'll change the results that you get. I want you to pick one thing, put it into action, and I want you to pick one person that you're going to forward this to or share this information with and help make an impact in their lives. And I love and appreciate all of you, and I look forward to seeing you all soon.